What is up, guys? Politics Gaming here, and today we are doing a brand new episode of the United Mexican States. This is going to be the third episode in the series, so I hope you guys are liking this series so far. It's pretty well received. And I know a lot of you guys have been enjoying this, so go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and if you guys want to see more Mexico content, go ahead and again subscribe to the channel, and we can go ahead and get this out weekly for you guys. Also support the channel through memberships, and I even have a Patreon. However, it's not too active right now, but if it does become more active, then I will start to reorganize some benefits there. But anyway, we do see that we have a notification from our Minister of Homeland Security. We have a bomb attack in Chihuahua. A bomb exploded last night in a movie theater in Chihuahua during the projection of a film about Gerardo Muritan. 6 people were killed. It would seem that the device was placed under a seat, Mr. President. I fear we are witnessing the beginning of a psychosis. Security procedures have been set up, particularly at the beginning of every session, and there is a systematic bag search in the audiences of every theater. So good that we are doing some sort of action to prevent more terrorist attacks. However, 6 people have been killed by some sort of group. So essentially what we need to do is that we need to go over to Secret Services, and we are not giving any sort of training to our agent training. So what we are going to do is we're going to start funding the fight against terrorism and agent training. How much money do we have to spend in order to try to prevent something like this happening again? Let's go ahead and do some military intelligence and industrial espionage training. We're going to cut some funding to worldwide surveillance. We don't really need to worry about that right now. And counterintelligence is going to be increased. We're going to increase our total budget by $6.03 billion. What we're also going to do is we're going to recruit an additional 10,000 national agents on the federal territory, and we are going to start preparing for some international spy stuff. So we're going to do 400 agents across the world, and in order to protect against any sort of cyber attack, we're going to call for 4,500 cyber analysts. So this should actually help us out to prevent any sort of another terrorist attack. But we're also going to do is we're going to go to the Zapatista Army of National Liberation, and we're going to go to the Sinaloa cartel, and we're going to place these guys under surveillance to prevent any sort of attack from happening again. That way we can actually try to find them. What we're also going to do is that we're going to infiltrate the Sinaloa cartel, and we're going to do a citizen awareness of cybersecurity to ensure that people are more safe on the internet, essentially. And we do see that we have a drought as of right now. 2 people are wounded from this drought. Let's go ahead and give an additional $100 million in emergency aid to this disaster in, it says, the Mexico region, but it is actually in the Campeche region. So unfortunately, that is a bug that is visible right here. We do see that there is the city of Campeche, and we have the city of Chetumal. So again, it says for some reason it's in the Mexico region or Mexico region. The Mexico region is actually right over here, surrounding Mexico City or Distrito Federal, and as well as north of the Morelos region. So again, unfortunately, that is there, I guess. What is also being announced, by the way, for those who do not have the game or do not know, there was a new update for this game that is actually now 6.94. That is why this episode was delayed by a couple of days. I wanted to get these episodes out every Wednesday. However, unfortunately, I had to delay it because of that new update. Essentially, what I had to do is that I had to kind of replicate some of the actions that I had done before, and I had to essentially repeat the actions that I had done before and then get myself all the way up to where I am at now. So I'm going to try to get at least maybe 5 episodes out before the next updates, because I didn't really do much before this new update. And of course, right as I start to make a new series. Essentially, what we have is a new update that comes out, which means that I have to completely restart everything that I had to do and get back to where I was. But basically, the goal of today's episode, beside me complaining, is essentially what we're going to try to do is that we're going to find a trading partner. What we want to do is we want to find someone that we can sign a free trade agreement and start to develop some good trade relations with other countries. One candidate right now is going to be Myanmar. However, their economy is only $60 billion, while ours is $1.4 trillion. We could also try to do something with Australia. They're a Pacific economic partner. And we also have really, really good relations with Costa Rica. There's $68 billion economy, but our economic relations are 35. So let's actually go ahead and try to gain this small country as a trading partner. What we also could do is that we could try to sign a free trade agreement with the United States. However, if that happens, we need to make sure that we are in an economic position to reduce inflation because of the amount of growth we will most likely get due to that agreement. So we want to make sure that there is no way that we can overheat our economy, essentially. Another big thing that I actually noticed while I was making this episode is that illegal employment is very much somewhat fixed now. That it would take me probably about 2 years to get to reduce it by 10% as I have right now. So essentially what we're at now, we're at 42% down from 53%. So I have reduced it by 11 points. And this is mostly because of the new calculations that they did with illegal employment. So it's very interesting to see. So that actually could allow us to increase, to do something along the lines of increasing the minimum wage. Minimum wage is very much affected with or connected to illegal employment. So what we can do is that once we kind of reduce it to about 20%, what I want to do is that I want to increase the minimum wage to about $150. What we could actually do, we could increase it to $130 by about $5 in Mexico, and then we could try to see possibly if that will work for us. Water restrictions have been lifted in the Campeche region. Following the improvement of weather conditions and since the situation has gone back to normal, I have ordered the end of water restrictions in the Campeche region. In quarterly employment figures, it does look like there is some sort of fix with unemployment. Because usually what I would see is that employment would literally just crash right down to 0.4% and then would kind of stay there, and it would stay like that. This is actually the first time in one of my gameplays recently in which I have seen unemployment actually start to tick upward. So I wonder if I can start a new gameplay as the United States, if that has been fixed. Because I actually am in a conversation with Eversim right now, and what I could do, and they're saying, like, has that happened in update 6.94, and I have not been able to answer them, mainly because I do not know yet. Final cost of the drought right now is $1.35 billion. Unfortunately, that is the Mexico region is mostly affected by this. However, that is again incorrect. It was actually the Campeche region. Costa Rica has accepted our free trade agreement offer, so we will go ahead and see how much that is worth. Even more prevention worth. Fight against the drought is a fight in long term that requires a heavy investment by ours, and ours was not sufficient. Nevertheless, we have reduced the more dramatic consequences thanks to the recently installed reservoirs. Nevertheless, like how many times he says nevertheless. Nevertheless, it is absolutely necessary to develop a more consistent program despite the cost, because in the eventuality a new episode of drought, we could be unprotected. And then happiness declines in Mexico. Drought, the extended lack of rainfall that characterizes our current weather is an abnormal situation. The weather forecast is pessimistic but unfortunately reliable. and the drought risk is across the country is high. So we're going to have to go over to environments and increase our funding for drought protection. We're also going to go over here. We're going to provide $2 billion to compensation for our farmers to ensure that they are able to recover from this disaster. And then also in response, we are going to go over and we're going to increase our drought and heat wave protection. That will be an additional $790 million. Let's actually go ahead and increase, well, yeah, okay. We're not going to do that right now. We're actually going to increase it by about 4 stars. That'll be $500 million of protection that we can do. We're also going to increase our forest fire protection. And since we're going to be investing into nuclear power, we will do some additional 4 stars to nuclear threats. So we're going to go ahead and accept that right there. Determine tax reduction using clean energies. If we wanted to do home, that will do an additional $294 million in costs, well, at least in tax credits. So I think that is the reduction of our revenue. We are also going to try to, in this episode, authorize the exploitation of non-conventional gas and oil. What we can do is that we can try to invest in that. That way we can start to increase our supply of oil and try to be less reliant on other nations. If we can do that, that will be very, very beneficial for us because we will not be essentially connected to large geopolitical disasters, as if there was a war between Iran or Saudi Arabia, maybe even things like the war in Russia and Ukraine, how much that affected oil and gas prices across the world, and other types of reasons. Let's go over to Argentina and economic relationships. What is their GDP? GDP is $664 billion. We'll go ahead and go and sign a free trade agreement with them. We will try to do a global economic treaty. We could, yes, we could. So we're going to go ahead and go over. We're going to go to free trade agreement. We're going to go to Argentina. We're going to do a global economic treaty with them. And then we're going to go ahead and skip over and see what their answer is. And we are back. So we see Pakistan network. We're not going to do anything with that. Economic treaty with Argentina has failed. It will agree that our relations are poor to say the least, and so it is inadvisable to consider any commercial agreements at this time. Let's go over and propose another one, but this time we're going to do a reciprocal commercial contract. So this will be just a smaller version of the global economic treaty. Maybe we can sign one later on. Then the biggest goal that we would like for a free trade agreement is going to sign one with Brazil. So Brazil, let's go over and look to see what our relations are. We have -1 relations, so we're going to go and sign one with them as well. So this will be the end of our free trade agreement spree, mainly because we do not want to sign too many free trade agreements, because if we do that, we will be growing our economy beyond what we would like it to be. We do want to grow our economy to about $2 trillion by 2025. But what we don't want to do, maybe not 2025, I'm going to say 2027, 2028, because $600 billion in 2 years would probably be a very scary kind of scenario because of inflation. But what we do want to do is that we want to find economic partners, and we want to kind of like grow our economic influence. And especially if we can get some of the bigger countries like Colombia, Brazil, and Argentina on our side, we will very much be an economic powerhouse for North America. But, and again, the biggest goal right now is to sign one with the United States, and at least we would like to sign a economic and political agreement pact with the United States. If we can do that, that will be a very, very good scenario, mainly because of how beneficial that will be for our economy. We can start focusing on some manufacturing processes. I did do this in the previous episode, but because again I had to restart it, unfortunately that is not I have to kind of do it again. So before we go ahead and do that, because I'm going to have to skip forward a little bit in time, we do see that Brazil has accepted our free trade agreement, and as well as Argentina. So let's go ahead and go over to the next day, which is August, and then we're going to be going to October today. So we're going to need to play another 2 months before this episode ends. And essentially, we have CIA drug trafficking. Illegal employment on the decline is now at 41%, and Fukuoka championship. So let's go over to diplomacy. We do see that Brazil is worth $126 billion, and Argentina is worth $42 billion, and Costa Rica is worth merely $5 billion. However, that was acceptable with Costa Rica. That was expected. But on the meantime, we are going to go back to industry. I'm going to spend a little bit of money investing into manufacturing, and as well, once I am done with that, we're going to skip forward to about September, and then we're going to do a investment into our education realm. So I'll go ahead and skip forward, and I'll see you guys whenever I come back. All right, and we are back. We are now in the month of September. Essentially what we did, kind of did a couple of things from the previous episode where, again, I have to kind of like redo some of the stuff that I had to do in the last episode. So I built some detention centers, and also built that highway between Mexico City and Puebla. So I do see that there is encouragement option for the Rugby World Cup. We will go ahead and accept that option. We also have accepted the discovery of small modular reactors, or SMRs. Our nuclear engineers have just developed a new type of SMR, or small modular reactor, nuclear reactor technology. With a simple and standardized design, it reduces the amount of investment necessary to construct small nuclear power plants, and thus provide a competitive alternative to fossil energy plants. The use of recent technology and the low strength of these reactors also make them safer and limits the risk of a serious accident. We are the first ones to have made this discovery, which gives us a huge scientific advantage. Do you want the patent and render it commercially accessible to the entire world? We'll go ahead and refuse that right now, but we will definitely take advantage of small modular reactor technology. We do see that 58% of our electricity production is now from fossil energy plants, and wind-powered electricity is now about 28%. So those wind power plants right off the coast of our Mexican coast are definitely doing the job that they need to be doing. We are going to so we do have the option for a 3G nuclear power plant. We could also wait. We're going to build like 5 or 10 SMRs. And then what we could also do, we have the National Day, so that is September 15th. September 15th is the Mexican Independence Day. I actually watched that. So on September 15th is the prelude to the actual National Day. So on September 15th, it's something called the Grito de Independencia. So essentially that's like the cry for independence. So they have this huge concert that they have in Mexico City, in the central square. I can't really remember the name of the central square right now, so if you can tell me that, then go ahead and comment it down below. But essentially that big central square where that big Mexican flag is, they have it there, and essentially the Mexican president has the tradition of waving a Mexican flag and saying "Viva Mexico, Viva Mexico," and he also says "Viva," and all these other names that were central to the Mexican Independence War. So it's very interesting, and then plus, as it is, all across Central America and Mexico, September 15th is all of their national days. So I believe in Guatemala, in Honduras, and even in El Salvador, and Nicaragua, all of that is September 15th. So it's really interesting how like a lot of them share that. And obviously they were all part of the Spanish Empire, so of course that makes sense, but I still think it's pretty interesting. We have a meeting request with the Prime Minister of Norway. Since AMN wants to see us, we will go ahead and accept that meeting request. Go ahead and continue to move on to the month of October so we can go ahead and wrap up this episode. We will go over to energy and SMRs. So we will go ahead and call for about, we're going to call for about 4 or 5 of these. We're going to do one south of Oaxaca. Oh, that was 5. right, so actions, we'll go over to here, and we're going to possibly nationalize third generation nuclear power plants. Once our nuclear plants, our SMRs, are prepared and ready to go, we will nationalize that sector as well. Monte Alban, a lot of pyramids all across Mexico. I do actually have some sort of a advisor on how to say certain things for this series, so I'm very appreciative to them for helping me out on this, and they actually did contribute to the intro of the series, so I'm very appreciative for it. Let's go ahead. We're on September 12th, and extreme poverty making progress. This is very bad news in the current situation. Famous filmmaker. That was actually the guy that was starring in the movie, or that made the movie. That was at that. That's the center of the beginning of the episode with that explosion in the movie theater. Vietnam and scandal.
This person is at risk of a scandal. Given your
We are
links,
going
the affair
to
does-
refuse that because I don't want to try to get caught up in some sort of cover-up operation. We're going to go ahead and let it play out. If it kind of damages our reputation, we will go ahead and deal with that. Meeting request with Nicaragua. Go ahead and accept that before we
Good morning.
leave this episode. Norway wants to purchase coal from us. We do not have the production for that, so we will go ahead and refuse this contract opportunity. We will do some stuff to try to improve our relations and end that meeting there. New conspiracy. And we will go ahead and go to the meeting with Nicaragua, and then we will do a couple of final things before we end this episode. All right, so we're moving our way to the meeting with Nicaragua, and illegal employment is at 39%. We could actually consider increasing the minimum wage in the next episode. In the next episode, we're also going to start focusing on trade contracts. So I believe this episode and then the next episode are basically going to be like trade-focused, economic-focused streams. Maybe this one is kind of like more like fixing Mexico's shattered economy, but I've already had so many. It's kind of like a running inside joke at this point.
Good morning.
Let's go ahead and see what Nicaragua wants to sell me. They want to sell me some cotton. They have 1,800 tons worth of cotton, and we have 193. It could actually kind of help, but it's not sufficient enough to kind of warrant a contract. We're not going to try to, pay for that. We're going to be losing a lot of money on that contract. So we're not going to be doing anything like that today. We could actually try to get Colombia in on a contract. However, I've always been seeing some sort of like heavy political instability in Colombia as of the recent editions. So it's really crazy how unstable Colombia gets. Like in my United States gameplay that I have like on the side, I like 3 or 4 different regions. Like it's like the Caesar region, the Santander region, and then the Nariño region. All of these regions just collapse into this like occupation by some terror groups, and it's really weird how it kind of like plays out. And I think also the Choco region falls apart into that. What we could also do in the next episode, we also have to kind of start to deal with our illegal immigration situation. We actually had a downtrend, so we had 1.14 million down from 1.19 million, so we kind of like dropped it by about 40,000 people, and then all of a sudden we have gained about 150,000 illegal immigrants all of a sudden, about 100,000. So we need to possibly start to deal with this situation. Maybe even I'm most likely going to be building a wall along the Guatemalan border. Belize we don't really have issues with, but that is the possibility that they maybe could come through Belize, and then Belize could have its own immigration crisis. But essentially everyone that's been wanting to go to the United States, they use us as this little central like hub for passage. So what we could do is that we could build a wall on the southern border of Mexico, on the Chiapas region with Guatemala, and then that could possibly stem the immigration situation, but it will not stop it. So never depend on walls to try to stop illegal immigration surges. We also could start an exceptional operation for the mass deportation of illegal immigrants, but then we also want to do a massive regularization situation. So we want to wait until there is at least 1 million people that we can regularize with that. We don't want to do it whenever it's under 500,000. Once it gets up to about 700, 800, 900,000, mainly we want to wait until it gets to 1 million. So we may be waiting like a year for that to kind of cross over. And essentially the regularization operation is for people that have been living and working in Mexico for over a year. So people that have like just don't have that sort of, says a massive regularization operation is for any undocumented immigrants residing in the territory at the beginning of the year and have been employed for at least 1 year. This is intended to stimulate and aid economic sectors that employ many illegal workers, which is construction, large farms, etc. Thus, these regularized immigrants will no longer be deported to their country of origin. It is ineffective to launch multiple regularization campaigns in succession. It takes time for the number of illegal immigrants that are eligible for regularization to replenish itself. So this is something just like in the last edition before this immigration update came out. Essentially what would happen is that, you know, you could regularize just again and again and again, or you could regularize people that have, like, you could regularize all of them if you wanted to. But this one is a lot more complex, mainly because it doesn't focus on specific sets of people. Because there were like 3 different options that we could regularize in the last edition. And in this one, it's essentially that it regularizes those that have been living and working inside of your country for more than a year. So it kind of has more of like a set of boundaries that it kind of follows through on. We also may do a large immigration reform in the next episode, so the next one could focus on like half economics and half immigration. So that is going to be for the next episode. I'm pretty excited for that. I will be returning to the Wednesday release schedule, and because of the updates that have been coming out, I don't know when the next one will come out. I could actually try to do 2 episodes a week, so I could try to, you know, sit down one day and record 2 episodes at a time. It's actually what I might do maybe tonight or tomorrow at the recording of this video, but maybe, I don't know, I haven't really decided yet. So anyway, guys, for those who are watching right now, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, if you guys want to see more content like this, and see more episodes of the United Mexican States. Go ahead and again leave a like and comment down below what you guys think on the series. If you guys think that something should happen, any suggestions on what kind of policy measures I should take. Before we actually go, I want to see what kind of territories I can purchase for annexation of a country. Let's see, Guatemala. See, I can annex Guatemala. Should I annex Guatemala, guys, and then build a wall on the border of El Salvador and Honduras? But Guatemala is now up for annexation. Before we go, we'll go ahead and pay off some debt. So what we have right now, 73% total debt right now. We have $116 billion. So what we could do in the next episode is we could do some treasury reserve surpluses. Basically, we can go in and pay some debt. So we can do right now, we can pay off some Norwegian debt, and then we can pay off some French debt, and then I will leave the rest of this for the next episode. That way we can kind of spend it maybe on a nuclear power plant or 2. And then what we could also do is pay the rest of it onto our debt. So, but since I finally, you know, gotten through all of that, I need to go ahead and head out. But guys, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you guys want to see more content like this, hit that bell notification icon so you miss anything whenever I do make it on the channel. If you guys really like this series, go ahead and tell me your thoughts down below, what you guys want to see on the next couple of episodes, and what type of policies I should make. What kind of immigration policy should I take, and what kind of foreign policy should I take? Should I remain with Mexico's neutrality that they have had over the past 100 years, or should I kind of start to extend myself outward, especially militarily. Mostly militarily, we would like to focus on Central America and start to try to focus on some sort of solution to the illegal immigration situation. But otherwise, guys, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching this with me, and take care.